All right, today we're diving into a fascinating kind of story. A parable, really. It's about an idea so powerful, so challenging, that it had to be buried on purpose. So, let's go find it.
So picture this. Our story doesn't start where you'd expect, not in those bright, familiar halls of philosophy with Plato and Aristotle. No, it begins in what the text calls the shadowlands of human thought. It's a place where ideas that don't quite fit the mainstream narrative go. It just immediately sets this mood of discovery, of looking for something hidden just out of sight.
And this really gets to the heart of it, the core question of this whole parable. What if the history of human ideas isn't just about what we've chosen to remember, but also about what we were encouraged to forget? It's a pretty compelling thought, isn't it?
Okay, so our journey, just like the seekers in the story, it all kicks off with the discovery. That one single moment where a forgotten idea is suddenly dragged back into the light.
I mean, can you imagine stumbling across this? You're in a corner, literally labeled dark and obscure, and you find this heavy, stone-bound book, and that title, The Fatalism of the Pre-Socratics, wow, it just pulls you right in. This isn't some dusty old textbook. It feels like a real artifact, a piece of forbidden knowledge just waiting for someone to crack it open.
And once you do open it, the book reveals a worldview that is, well, it's completely alien to how most of us think today. It's called the web of necessity.
So the big idea here is something called unyielding fate. And listen, this isn't just about fortune cookies or simple destiny. This is the radical belief that everything, and I mean everything, from a star collapsing billions of miles away to you deciding what to eat for lunch, is all bound together by this rigid, inescapable chain of events. There is zero wiggle room.
In this slide really shows just how out there this idea is compared to what we're used to. On the left, you've got this pre-Socratic fatalism. Your destiny is already written, your free will is basically an illusion, and the threads of your life were spun before you were even born. Now, look at the right. That's mainstream Western thought. It's all built on human agency, reason, and the power of individual choice. I mean, you couldn't get two more different ways of looking at the world.
And yet somehow, this incredibly powerful worldview just vanished. It wasn't just debated and then set aside. No, it was almost totally erased from the public conversation. It only survived in these little fragments, these whispers, known only to a handful of specialists. For pretty much everyone else, it was gone. So of course, the big question is why? Why would such a huge, profound idea get so completely shut down? Well, that brings us to what the story calls the Great Rejection.
And the answer, when you get down to it, is actually pretty simple. The idea wasn't rejected because somebody proved it was wrong. It was rejected because it was just too challenging, too inconvenient for the kinds of societies that came later.
And you can see the domino effect pretty clearly. I mean, think about it. If fate is absolute, if there's no such thing as real choice, then how can you hold anyone morally responsible for their actions? And if you can't do that, then your entire legal system, which is based on punishing bad choices, becomes totally meaningless. The very foundations of the society they were trying to build would start to crack.
So, to protect these new structures of morality, of law, of social order, this idea had to go. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a case of people just forgetting. It was an active, deliberate push to the margins, an act of, intellectual suppression, all to keep the status quo intact.
But here's the thing about really powerful ideas. They don't ever truly die, do they? They just wait. They wait in the shadows, and their allure, that pull they have on us, can be incredibly strong.
This is what the parable calls the uncanny hook. It's brilliant, really. The very title, The Fatalism of the Pre-Socratics, isn't just a label, it's a hook. It signals that this isn't just dry history, it's secret history. It's basically an invitation to come look behind the curtain.
And that invitation is super powerful for anyone who's naturally curious, for anyone who just gets that gut feeling that the official story we're all told might not be the whole story. It taps right into that deep-seated desire to find out what's been hidden from us.
So, in the end, our seeker has this big realization. While this concept of unyielding fate was pushed out of the mainstream, it never actually lost its power. It's just been waiting there, like an unmoving shadow in the landscape of human thought, just as potent today as it was thousands of years ago. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. If a worldview this fundamental, this huge, could be deliberately shoved into the shadows, what else is out there?
What other powerful, inconvenient, or maybe even dangerous ideas are just waiting for a new seeker to find them in those dark and obscure corners of our history? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.